Pokémon Scarlet and Violet are only a few months away and have the potential to shake up multiple aspects of the Pokémon formula. Okay, that might be some extremely wishful thinking. Look man, I just wanted to talk about the battle system and I'm losing my touch when it comes to these scripts. Despite having known about these games ever since February, it wasn't until 2 weeks ago that we got our first look at the in-game battles for Generation 9. Normally there wouldn't be too many differences to expect. I mean, Pokémon is Pokémon, you press the thing and the little guy does the thing to the other little guy who does their thing. But with the recent release of Pokémon Legends Arceus, some potential has been presented. This is also my chance to talk about my thoughts on the Legends Arceus battle system because I never officially brought it up. So while this game still remains an overall turn-based RPG, there are some minor differences in how they play out. Most notably is the turn order at the side determined by various factors, sometimes even allowing a Pokémon to attack twice in a row. Second is the use of strong style and agile style moves, which can affect the move order and power of moves used, among several other changes to various moves and mechanics and stuff. Umbreon Libris did a great video going into depth on this and talked with actual VGC players, so check that out when you get a chance. But if you want my personal opinion, I didn't really like the battles in Legends Arceus. Sure, it was definitely fun and refreshing to try out a different way of suffering at the hands of a tall blonde maniac, but by the end of it, I was ready to go back to normal. And Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is pretty obviously going to go the route of traditional Pokemon games, because why wouldn't it? Legends Arceus was the time to experiment and that really paid off. Scarlet and Violet have to be the core main series experience. But that said, there are a handful of things from Legends Arceus that I feel could be adapted into Generation 9. In any Pokemon game, you can pretty clearly see when Game Freak has an idea in their current game that they want to try for their next. The free-moving camera and explorable landscapes in Sword and Shield's Wild Area, Isle of Armor, and Crown Tundra were the small steps before Legends Arceus fully realized that idea. And so, I assume a good amount of what we experienced in Legends Arceus will give us some hints for Scarlet and Violet. Okay, so first of all, I loved how seamless the battles were in Legends Arceus. You want to start a battle with a wild Pokemon? Just throw a Pokeball and boom, there it is. Sure, when you want to battle one of the few trainers that there are, you get a fade to black as with the previous games, but that's just to set up their position. It still takes place in the same space you were just in. You can even walk around during the battle as opposed to being teleported to a random battle dimension, even though these just recently look so good in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. But from what you can see in the trailer for Scarlet and Violet, this seems like a possibility. From the footage of the battle against Nemona, we can see that the background remains completely intact with the grass, the Pokemon Center, and the buildings in the distance. Though I will take this opportunity to address one of my complaints. I did just say this was a cool thing because it eliminates the loading screens and allows us to be more immersed, but I think that allowing the player to control the camera actually kind of hurts how the battles look. I mean, Sword and Shield's whole cut to a new camera angle every 2 seconds isn't ideal either, but it always bothered me in Legends Arceus because it felt like I could never get the right angle or framing. If it wasn't set up just right, I was missing out on the action. Say what you will about the simplicity of the original games, but at least I could always clearly tell where and what each Pokemon and move was. And being able to move both the camera and trainer are important for the wild encounters in case you maybe started the battle in a bit of an awkward spot. But in my opinion, it needs work. So if we're talking wish lists, I would want the battles in Scarlet and Violet to maintain the seamlessness, but hopefully fix some of the camera controls so that the battle actually looks nice. Maybe give us the option of a default viewpoint for trainer battles. And I wouldn't say to get rid of this completely because it looks like it will be carrying over when we get a look at the wild battles later in the trailer for Scarlet and Violet. The player character is shown being able to slowly approach a wild Pokemon that appears in the overworld, and during the battle, the background looks the same as it did before. Also a detail you might not immediately notice, but when the battle starts with a Pokemon, it zooms in on them at roughly a 3/4 angle, while they're in an idle stance before they growl with anime lines filling up the screen. The same way it looks when you encounter a wild Pokemon in Legends Arceus, as opposed to Sword and Shield where they're obscured by shadow and the camera zooms in dead on. So yeah, the battle framing appears as if it will be carried over. Now the battle system, I don't think so. Though strong style and agile style moves specifically, I could see them being implemented into the core main series games. Maybe they wouldn't necessarily affect move order because I don't see that being brought in, but maybe it could just be that strong style increases the power like usual, and agile style gives maybe a little bit of a higher move priority on the next turn? I'm not sure. I'm mostly thinking about these because they're tied to a Pokemon evolution method, and Hisuian forms have been confirmed to be usable in this game. Maybe not catchable right away, but definitely transferable from your copy of Legends Arceus. It's possible this method could just end up being changed though, since this is technically a new generation. I have no real thoughts, but since they are regional variants, there will definitely be an easy way to obtain them. I had just always found it interesting that a few cries for a change-up in battle system in the main series games persisted for so long from a vocal minority. There is the fact that Pokemon has a competitive scene that should probably keep the basics the same, just adding or removing some mechanics and changing which Pokemon are able to compete at certain times to mix things up year to year. To me, asking for the core battle system in a main series Pokemon game to change, while a valid opinion, just seemed like looking at the game of chess and wondering why it hasn't changed in hundreds of years. The different battle systems are all in the spin-off games, which offer even more variety in scenarios with the same creatures at the heart. We got real-time battles, but they didn't take off because they required Pokemon fans to get good. Looking at both Legends Arceus and Scarlet and Violet, it's actually really cool to see how one is influencing the other, while still being its own game with its own experience. If every generation, or more likely every other generation, we could get a core game and an experimental game, I think that would end up being the combination that we need, where one can be something different while still being a main series Pokemon game, and the other can be more traditional while still pushing the franchise forward. I had so much fun with Legends Arceus earlier this year, and Sword and Shield this whole generation, so whatever Scarlet and Violet brings, I'm ready. Thank you to all my channel members who make videos like this possible, especially Justin R, Mr. Pig Puncher, and Quago. If you want to support and have your name shouted out here, you can become a channel member as well, and get access to some cool emotes for comments and live streams that I'm very proud of. You can also follow me on Twitter for more memes. But anyway, this has been GatorX, and I'll catch you later.
When faced with a challenge, only you can master the right moves and become a champion. Pokken Tournament Deluxe on Nintendo Switch is a proud sponsor of Disney Channel. Rated everyone 10 and up. Game and system sold separately.
Use water gun. That's supposed to happen?